This is Michigan embedded correspondent John Solberg, and you are listening to the BBQ Central Show.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the Really Big BBQ Central Show. It's a show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling. Originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you on your Tuesday evening. It's the holiday season, so whoop-de-doo and dickory-dock. If you want to jump in on the show tonight, here's how you do that.
You can get in touch with the show by calling 216-220-0966. Email Greg at the BBQCentralShow.com. On the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening coming up in about 12 minutes from now. He is the traditional second Tuesday of the month guest. He was out last month, and if we could probably count, well, let me say it this way. This guest has probably missed as many of his own segments as I've missed total shows lifetime. In saying that, it's obviously very, very few. And to his credit, last month he did make an effort or did offer a potential solution where he wouldn't have to miss. But after reviewing what the possibility was, and while I am traditionally optimistic, I only saw a potential downfall doing phone Skype in a restaurant downtown Chicago. It screamed all sorts of potential fun, but way overridden by disaster and audio issues and restaurant noise and things not happening the way they're supposed to do. And then, of course, my mania would kick in and the OCD would kick in. I would probably have hung up on him at some point out of frustration, all of that. And I said, you know what? Let's save ourselves the headache. I have plenty of time to figure something else out. We backfilled with great guests last month, so no worries. But he is back, large and in charge. Meathead from AmazingRibs.com is back this month. We have plenty to talk about. It is, as I had mentioned, the holiday season. A lot of holiday season stuff involves getting gifts, also buying gifts. And if you are in a household that enjoys live fire cooking, perhaps your wife or boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever it is a enthusiast of the live fire persuasion, and they are subtly dropping hints, or maybe somebody said, hey, if you want to have an idea of what to get me this holiday season, tune in to the BBQ Central Show all December leading up to the holidays, and they'll probably ask a lot of their guests what they're recommending, and then also what they would like to get, and then figure it out from there. Because a lot of my guests aren't going to give you crap suggestions on what you should get the important people in your life if they are a fan of live fire. Meathead is certainly no exception to that. In fact, I would say he is probably one of the leading experts in this particular category. Certainly everybody likes to think that if they're in this industry and they have even a monicum of experience, that they can recommend to you some really great gadgets to help you be more accurate and enjoy end products, because that's all we're looking to do in the end, is have a nice, consistent, delicious end product. And there are gadgets and tools and tips and tricks and methods out there widely available to help you execute that. So we'll talk to Meathead about that. Also, what he might like to see underneath the Christmas tree or whatever it is that he celebrates. And prime rib tips. And I might ask him about heirloom turkeys. Also, some business stuff. Social media, the website. Especially for Meathead, that's a big thing. Also, you might be surprised as time allows how Google quantifies and or classifies barbecue pulled pork. You want to be tuned in for that discussion for sure. That will take the balance of the first hour. Then we will move to the second hour. And we have a guest who is on semi-regularly. She is a cooking class instructor, a very successful author, a chief operating officer, a chief executive officer of her own brand, Hardcore Carnivore. She's on TV shows as well. Follow her socially as she is always weighing in or giving you great tips and tricks. You know, some similar stuff that we'll talk to Meathead about, but some way different stuff as well. Jess Pryles rejoins the show for the second hour. So 2 great guests for 2 great hours. It's going to be wonderful, and you should be locked and loaded and ready to go. All right. 216-220-0966. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. If you're not following me socially, me at BBQ Central Show on Instagram and Twitter / BBQ Central Show on Facebook. You know, I want to follow up on Craig Barr. You would recall Craig Barr is the gentleman that is taking Popeye's chicken corporate to trial over this whole fiasco of chicken sandwich. Now, not fiasco in Popeye's eyes, of course. It's been a raging success at both releases. But much to Craig's chagrin, and perhaps more to his custom Mercedes-Benz tires and wheels chagrin, as he was chasing all over the greater Chattanooga area to try and find one of these things, and with no luck until recently, he decided that enough was enough, and somebody had to take Popeyes and Big Chicken in general to task. And to task, he meant to court, and it's actually being sent to court. That will be tried. And this is something that I am both not surprised and completely surprised with. Tomorrow, we'll start the first day of operations on the movie that he mentioned during his interview on this very show. I believe the title was First Day on the Job. And he went into the stream of consciousness as he laid out the plot and the main characters of this film and how it was all ranging in a time span of no less than 1 day. Can you believe where this movie, or at least part of it, is going to be shot? You're not going to believe it. This is not a joke. It is being filmed, by the way, confirmed by Craig Barr himself and the person that owns this property. It is being filmed, again, at least in part, at the Midnight Oil in Ooltewah, Tennessee. And if that city sounds familiar, it's because Midnight Oil is owned by my very own Tennessee embedded correspondent, Steve Ray. So while Steve was an integral part at helping me corral and hogtie Craig to come on the show and do that interview last month or a month and a half ago or whenever it was, there was obviously some type of kismet or kinship or kindred spirit, or however the hell you want to describe it. But Steve offered up his gas station, probably tongue-in-cheek originally. And lo and behold, Craig Barr is an actual movie maker who had script in hand, was ready to go into production as we were having that interview. And I was getting feverish text messages during the course of the day today that announced we'll be showing up at the Midnight Oil. Casting calls will take place between hours of X and Y. production people should show up at this time. Insurance riders will be passed out and signed by all the operating parties. This thing is incredible. It's incredible. There will be a movie at Steve Ray. Now, I mean, the cautious person in me wants to take a beat and say, is everybody going to show up tomorrow? But it sounds like if you have nothing better to do and you can get to Ottawa in the next 12 hours, you might actually see, I don't know if I would term it a major motion picture, but you will see a motion picture potentially at the start, right? At the start at Steve Ray's Midnight Oil. Oh. Big things happen when you're connected to this show. According to Steve Ray in the Instant Chat, he's there right now conducting interviews and filming. So if you want to take your chance at acting stardom, get down to Steve Ray. Steve, what's the going rate? Do you have to be a SAG member in order to get paid? Exciting times in Ooltewah, Tennessee. Motion picture making mogul Craig Barr in town, making it happen. Before we get to Meathead, I'll talk to you quickly about Southside Market and Barbecue, established in 1882. Southside is the oldest barbecue joint in Texas. They've been owned and operated by the same family for 3 generations. Famous for the original beef sausage, which is coarse ground and then stuffed in a natural pork casing, plus their authentic Central Texas barbecue products. All meats, including the prime briskets, are slow smoked over real Texas post oak wood. They ship nationwide via the online store SouthsideMarket.com, or they ship through a whole bunch of different other food distribution channels like Cisco and so forth. Shipping nationwide, sausages and other fresh barbecue products. All items are vacuum sealed to ensure freshness and ease of preparation for the customer. All meats processed in their on-site USDA inspected facility. On-site meat markets for fresh and smoked products. Custom orders available as well. If you are hungry and you want to eat there, 2 restaurants are available currently. Elgin, Texas in 1882 and Bastrop, Texas since 2014. Grocery store distribution through Texas and many surrounding states as well. The best part is if you go to SouthsideMarket.com and you order now, you get 10% off your entire order each and every time you order from SouthsideMarket.com by using promo code BBQ Central. That's BBQ CENTRAL, BBQ Central, all lowercase and one word. 10% off your first order, your 10th order, your 100th order. You can go through and shop for multiple different people, put in their addresses. No extra charges for multiple shipping addresses. You can do it all in one fell swoop, and you can save 10% on top of that. That's code BBQ Central. SouthsideMarket.com. That's SouthsideMarket.com. And we are back with Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. Stick around. Be right back.
Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Butcher's Barbecue, makers of award-winning injections, marinades, rubs, seasonings, barbecue sauces, grilling oils. All of Butcher Barbecue products have been tested on the competition circuit, as well as backyards worldwide. Be the pitmaster of your neighborhood and visit butcherbbq.com to stock up now. And don't forget to check out Dave's new barbecue podcast as well. Subscribe through Google Podcast and iTunes and all that other good stuff. The second Tuesday of the month brings a visit from the creator of the most heavily trafficked barbecue and grilling website on the face of the earth. You know him simply as Meathead. Hey, Meathead.
Hey, Greg, how's the barbecue rock star? And how are you all, Centralites?
We are doing absolutely fabulous. Meathead, are you looking at the right camera? I have you on your right camera.
I'm looking at the right camera. The wrong camera's looking at me.
Oh, all right. Well, look to your right.
I'm working on that.
You don't have to work on it. You can just look to the right, and we'll be looking right at you.
No, I can't see you then. I just got to switch cameras somehow.
All right.
I got to figure out how. There it is. There we go.
Are we switching? Oh.
Yeah, there we go. We're back.
Oh, okay. That's the look. There's the look.
There's the look.
Studio lights are back up, all that good stuff. So, Meathead, we missed you last month. What had you engaged?
Oh, I think I recall now.
Yes, that was a leading question.
I went to the University of Florida, my alma mater, to a football game. I haven't been since I left there in the 70s.
Okay.
Hey, when the stadium held only 50,000.
Wow.
They were 89,000 for the game.
Wow.
And my wife dragged me to Disney World. And we also went to visit the Marjorie Canaan Rawlings cottage in the middle of nowhere, Cross Creek, in the boonies, in the sticks. She's an author whom I admire. And so we went and visited her estate.
I thought you were at dinner at a Smith & Wolenski's with the guy from Hasty Bake.
Oh, maybe that's where I was.
Oh, dear Lord. That's some story you wove, Meathead.
Well, I was traveling last month, but you're right. Richard Alexander, that's right. That's where I was that night. It was right around that time I had gone to Florida, though. Sorry. Richard Alexander, the owner of Hasty Bake, was in Chicago, and we went to dinner together.
Let me ask you: is he's the mastermind behind that Barbecue Stars video thing? Is that can we deem that thing a loser or is that thing a winner?
Oh, I don't know. I believe they sold. I don't know how many tickets they sold, but I believe it was profitable. There's 107 videos in there by 11 different barbecue stars. Mm-hmm. Harry Sue just kills it. Tuffy kills it. Several the steak guys are great. There are several. Oh, Kent Rollins, the campfire cook, the chuck wagon cook, fantastic. I learned so much watching him. Some of the others were less than thrilling, but 107 videos. They charged the pre-sale price was $200, so a couple of bucks a video. The final price was $300. So they made money and they're happy, and there's probably going to be a second season.
Okay, and it's closed off, right? That was the whole thing. Was you had to buy in a certain period of time, and otherwise you were closed out. This
was the owner of the program, not Richard Alexander. He worked with her as a consultant. They have this marketing concept that it becomes more special if the tickets are for sale for just a limited time.
Sure.
And, my daddy taught me never leave money on the table. It should be open 24/7, 365. And they said, sale ends on such and such a date, and you can get on the waiting list. They did reopen it last week, and they put in a gift option. I'll take a little credit for that. I've been hounding them to open it up for the holidays because it make a nice gift. So it turns out that I've had a little more than just being one of the video stars. I've had the chance to help them think it through and influence them, and I think it's got a good future.
All right.
I think that the price needs to be maybe adjusted downward. I think they need to bring in some other people who are who get it. A couple of the barbecue stars didn't quite get it, and they just didn't deliver with great videos, just a few. But I learned a lot watching them. And I got to tell you, Kent Rollins, the Chuck Wagon. You know Kent Rollins?
I don't know. No.
Oh, you gotta go video. He's got YouTube videos. This is a guy that actually follows cattle drives in a chuck wagon. He's got a beautiful young wife who's a good photographer, and he knows how to cook over campfires. He's got a special stove. You would absolutely blow your mind how he cooks a brisket in a Dutch oven. And it just, I mean, man, the guy does pies and biscuits, everything in Dutch ovens, open fire. And he's out of Oklahoma, and he's got a new cookbook out. And I got a copy, an advanced copy of it. It's just wonderful. It's full of stories from the range and stuff. He's just got personality out there. Big handlebar mustache.
Yeah.
I mean, he is made for TV. He just knows his stuff.
Meathead, you've piqued my interest because you mentioned it a couple different times. Will you give the names of the people that you thought weren't that great on the videos? Will you name them?
So you are asking me to make enemies.
No, but you've pointed out twice that you thought there were some lackluster performances, so let's help them out by naming them.
All right, I'll just one. And I'll preface it by saying,
hypothetically speaking, these would be the people.
Ariane Dogan, who is of French descent. Ariane Dogan.
Well, okay, he doesn't count. Next person. Whatever. Doesn't count.
No, let me tell you about her. She is the importer and the distributor of more foie gras in this country than anybody. She owns D'Artagnan, massive operation, duck breasts, geese, great meats, imports, phenomenal product. Her father just died last week. He is a Michelin-starred chef in France. She is really trained in French cooking, and she talked about grilling, and she did a little grilling on a gas grill, and she was showing us how to check the temperature of I think it was a duck breast. She was sticking a metal probe in there and touching it to her lip, and that's how she was gauging the temperature. And it's like, oh my God, come on, Ariane. But I mean, if you're a French chef and you're in a restaurant and you're cooking 100 duck breasts a night, that might work. But, if you're a backyard cook like me and you cook duck breasts once every 2 months, maybe, I need a thermometer.
Sure.
So I don't think she quite. And some of the other guys didn't drum up a lot of business. We sold more tickets than anybody on our website, but it was, I'm telling you, Harry killed it. Harry Sue just went nuts. His stuff is all Asian influenced, really creative barbecue, a lot of fun. And Tuffy showed us how he cooks for competition. And he was just, laid back, fun stuff.
All right. Meathead can be found at AmazingRibs.com, of course. He's also on Twitter and some other social media platforms, which we'll probably get to here in a second. It is, of course, holiday season, whatever you're celebrating. It's Hanukkah, it's Christmas, it's Kwanzaa, it's all the above. Everybody is racing to me now saying,
don't forget Festivus.
For the rest of us, of course. Feats of strength to follow in the second segment. Me and Meathead will go to the mat to see who's strongest. People are always asking me at this time of year, what should I get my husband, or my wife is really into this thing, or whatever the case may be. So I always try and keep a list of 5 to 10 items, because maybe they have some already, and at least I have some backup items. What are people asking you, what's hot this Christmas and holiday season to give as gifts?
Well, I'm not getting asked a lot, but we did publish a gift guide on AmazingRibs.com, and we broke it down by price. Under $50, 50 to 200, 200 to 500, and so on. And, number one, depending on how expert the person is, you just can't go wrong with a good thermometer. I mean, nowadays, and I think we've had something to do with this, barbecue cooks have come to understand that cooking is all about temperature control, and a medium rare steak is 130 to 135, and that you can't pull a pork butt off at 170 and expect it to be done. That you need a good thermometer both for the meat and for the oven. oven, in this case, is a generic term for pit, smoker, grill, or your indoor oven. So you just can't go wrong with any one of those. A good thermometer. We recommend some of our favorites. I try not to be too commercial, but we got a electrical engineer, Bill McGrath, who tests thermometers, and we've got over 150 thermometer test results and ratings, so you can pick a price category. There's some really cool new devices out there that are Wi-Fi connected or fan connected. You know, the BBQ Guru was the original, and there's like 10 of those things out there now, where if you're cooking with charcoal, you can attach this little fan device to your smoker, and it'll turn the air on and off, and you can control temperature by airflow. So there's just a whole bunch of really cool stuff out there. Here's something. Hold on.
Away he goes, ladies and gentlemen. Meathead on the run. Oh wait, he's coming back.
It's a good thing I got my
Oh,
pants.
I have one of those. I got that exact same thing right there. I have.
Is this the coolest
The
thing?
Ken Onion Workhorse.
Yeah, this is a knife sharpener.
Yep.
It's I don't know, about $150. How much is it? You remember, Greg?
No, I got mine for free, of course.
I can look it up. But this is. Stand by. I'm looking up the price. It's got a variety of belts, and you can tighten the belts and loosen the belts and set the angle, the dangle here, and I mean, a sharp knife. There is nothing like it. And I still don't have the price yet. I'm looking for that.
All right, it's
on Amazon. There it is.
$129.
Yeah, 120. I got 126.40 on Amazon.
Yeah, right. So let's call it 130-ish.
Yeah, in that range. Well, 126. But it's very cool, and it looks like it's going to last forever. I've had it for a while, and I kind of like it. So that's knives. I have fallen in love with the Gunther Wilhelm knives.
Oh.
And he is a big proponent. There are really some clever design features here. It's really full tang on both the vertical and the horizontal axis. They're very pretty knives. And they're a 21-degree sharp angle. Many knives are 40 to 45. At 21, it is like a razor blade. And he's got a full line of them. They're a little heavier than most, but I like that. A little heft. And there's a whole variety. I was playing with the cleaver over Thanksgiving, and yikes, boy, that is a mission. Yeah, that's like a guillotine. Just a whole bunch of fun stuff out there. Just go to our homepage and look for the gift guide. I'm scrolling through it now myself. The Uni pizza oven, really nice. Get the gas one, not the pellet one. The pellet one is a pain in the ass. We gave it our worst rating. Gas
Really?
one, yeah, we gave it a not recommended.
Wow.
The gas one, though, we gave a gold medal or a platinum medal too. Really nice. 90 seconds to 2 minutes. A really good pizza. Takes a little practice because it's a small space, but if you like pizzas, it's an outdoor oven. You can't cook indoors with it.
Right.
There's a really good indoor pizza oven by Breville that's like $700. The Uni's like $300. No assembly. It's really easy to work with. The Breville also no assembly, but it's $700. But it's an indoor. It's electric. And it is also phenomenal. It really makes great pizzas.
All right.
It has 2 burners, below and above. Because that's the thing about pizza, is getting what I call simultaneous pizza-gasm. Getting the top and the bottom cooked at the same time. It's tricky. Sometimes you get the bottom done and the sausage isn't cooked. That's dangerous. Or vice versa. The top is done and the cheese is browning and the bottom is still soft.
Yep.
So... this Breville is really clever for that. A bunch of stuff that we recommend.
You have everything that a live fire artiste would want, of course, but is there a gift that you're secretly pining for that shows up this holiday season?
I heard you say that in the intro, and I started trying to think, oh my God, what do I want for Christmas? I am in the enviable position that now your listeners are going to hate this, but I got everything I want.
All right.
I mean,
you don't want a Kalamazoo hybrid or the new Kalamazoo green egg or whatever the hell that thing is.
Yeah. But I've got a Heston on my deck, which is just an awesome gas grill.
Yeah.
I've got every kind of grill and smoker that I could possibly want, and I've got every kind of accessory and thermometer. I have like a steamer trunk full of thermometers.
Yeah.
All
right, you got everything is what you're trying to say, Meathead. You got everything, and you're very happy. Okay, I get it. Now let's change subjects real quick here while we got 3.5 minutes before the first break. I wanted to. You said you knew something about it. I'd never heard of this thing called an heirloom turkey until last month when we were leading into then Thanksgiving. I had Stephen Reichlin on my show, and he said something about heritage breed turkey or heirloom turkey. And I quickly dismissed it as, oh, Stephen, you're being Stephen. But then I was at what Nick Solaris has just recently termed the most important restaurant in America, and it happens to be here in Cleveland, Ohio, which is Larder Delicatessen, which happens to be one of my favorite restaurants.
No.
And I was talking to the owner there, who was on my show at some point last year, October of last year, I think. And he also happens to be a huge fan of heirloom turkeys. So now, holding Stephen aside, this guy Jeremy Umansky talks about it. I become immediately intrigued because I have more of a kinship with him. I feel more common man with Jeremy than Stephen, unfortunately, even though Stephen is a Barbecue Hall of Famer and he shows up here once a month, and I'm forever grateful. What do you know about these heirloom turkeys?
Well, I've always called them heritage, but, you've got both heirloom turkeys or heritage turkeys.
Is it the same or are they different?
To my knowledge, they're the same.
Okay, all right.
The terms are interchangeable, to my knowledge. You have the same thing with heritage or heirloom hogs.
Okay.
Tomatoes.
Yes.
What's happening is over the years, the food industry has crossbred turkeys, chickens, hogs, steers to meet the market needs. So in the case of turkey, they have been crossbred to grow fast, mature quickly, and have big breasts.
We're talking about turkeys, right?
Yeah, I was waiting for you to punch up something.
Thank you.
That's the punchline there, fella.
Got it.
But, there are a lot of people that like turkey white meat, and so they want big breasts. And so the breed, Milagros Galapavo, I think is how it's pronounced, is the standard commercial farm-bred turkey right now. But there are its parentage, the birds that it's bred from, and then others that have just died off, or small amounts of them have remained on mom and pop farms because they like them. Maybe they take a little longer to grow, or the breasts aren't big enough, or they're more susceptible to diseases. Some of these are being brought back. Same thing with hogs. I mean, you've heard of people talk about heritage hogs.
Sure.
The breeds that are most commonly mentioned are Narragansett and Bourbon Red. They're closer to a wild turkey. The meat is a little darker. It's not, the white meat is still white meat, but it's, a little darker. And therefore a little more fat, a little more flavor. I'll have to come into town and we'll go try the turkeys that your friend is selling.
Well, so he's not selling them, but there is a what do you call them? Place called Ohio City Provisions, which is a seller of. They can get their hands on these heirloom turkeys.
Yeah, and I must confess, I've never had one. I've heard about them. I've talked to people about them. Turkey is not my favorite meat, but I do enjoy Thanksgiving. I do enjoy the turkey with Thanksgiving. I've learned how to cook it as well as you can. You can cook it. And what I like most about Thanksgiving is that no matter what your race, religion, political persuasion, we all eat turkey. We all eat mashed potatoes. We all eat sweet potatoes. We all eat cranberry sauce. All right, somebody out there probably is eating duck or raviolis or whatever, but so many of us eat the same meal.
Yeah.
We talk about how divided we are in this country. Here we have a government that's about to split itself in half, and on Thanksgiving we all sit down and eat the same meal. I just think that's the coolest thing ever, and it's the only holiday that centers around food.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have a feast on the 4th of July and Christmas, but this is meant, I mean, it's a harvest dinner. It's about food. And I just think it's, so it's therefore my favorite holiday.
All right. That's Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. Meathead, you chill out here for just 1 second, and I will talk to the folks here about Green Mountain Grills, which is one of the premier pellet cookers out there on the market today. A couple different sizes to choose from. We are in the teeth of football season, so whether you're a pro fan or a college fan, there's going to be parties afoot, tailgating possibly, and at least here in Cleveland, you can't take charcoal into the Muni lot anymore. They're going to kick you right out, or they won't even let you in if you got charcoal. They don't want that to be hanging around, causing fires and blowing cars up. But I bet they let that pellet cooker right in the door, and the Davy Crockett is the portable option. It's got really good capacity for the amount of portability it offers you. It is cooking on wood pellets, so you get that flavor. It's got 12-volt technology to power it, so if you don't have access to the traditional power outlets, you can plug it right into the 12-volt outlet in your car, truck, van, or SUV. You're powered up, and you are ready to go. Now, if you want something a little bit bigger on the deck at home, you can get the Jim Bowie or the Daniel Boone. Both of those are great offset cookers, are great pellet cookers as well. Great in the barbecue temperatures, not too bad in the higher temperatures, but hey, if you want to get crazy, and Meathead was just talking about pizza, they make a really great pizza oven insert for the Jim Bowie and the Daniel Boone. Rip the guts out of the ordinary cookers, set that pizza oven insert right down on top of the fire pot, and then set your temperatures accordingly. 350 degrees will get you about 700 degrees at the stone. So if you want to rifle up to 1,000, set that cooker at 500. And you are operating at the extremely high temperatures. I don't personally prefer to cook that high because if things get loose, it goes bad quick. I like that 625, 650 range. Done in about 2 minutes. Can't complain. And everybody has so much fun with it. Plus, at only $130, you can't go wrong. Get that. That's a Christmas present I'm telling everybody to get if they got a Green Mountain Grill and they don't have one already. Hit the website, greenmountaingrills.com. They have sauces and rubs and pellets and all that other stuff. Or visit a Green Mountain Grill dealer near you. You can find that on the website as well. Green Mountain Grills, a longtime sponsor here of this show, and they are signed on for 2020 as well. So happy to have Jason and the gang continuing on with the show here. Meathead coming back up out of the break. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rampey.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by CookinPellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. You can buy at CookinPellets.com or Amazon.com if you want. Whatever you like, up to you. Great flavors, other cool products. Chris Becker and the gang over there at CookinPellets.com. And Meathead from AmazingRibs.com is joining us here for the second portion of his monthly visit on the second Tuesday. All right, Meathead, so we talked some gifts. We talked a little heirloom turkey. Of course, one of the big items that everybody's going to be cooking this holiday season is prime rib. Now, we've done a few shows in the past where we've really gone headlong into prime rib from stem to stern, but I wanted to at least get some high-level insight and re-education from your perspective on, the what to look for first, how to trim it up, and then best ways to cook and make sure you're doing it right.
Yeah, if you want, we could also talk about beef tenderloin and the Chateaubriand, which is another great beef roast that people like to celebrate the holidays with.
All right. Yeah.
Let's take the prime rib first. So we have talked about it before, so we'll just do the 30,000-foot overview. A full beef primal, which is the rib roast, which is where the ribeye comes from, is the that longissimus dorsi muscle that runs along the spine and on top of the ribs, is probably the best all-round cut on a steer. And you want to order a beef prime rib, they call it, but it is not necessarily USDA prime. You want to order the grade USDA choice, top choice, which a lot of people don't know there is such a thing as top choice. It's the best of the USDA choice grades.
You have to call that out in order to get that? You have to ask for top choice?
Depending on your butcher,
right.
You can ask for top choice. Basically, it's USDA choice, and then the butcher will just look. It's not labeled top choice. The butcher will look over what he's got in inventory and pick the one that's the most marbled.
All right.
And then USDA prime, and then, of course, Wagyu and so on. So, go for USDA choice if you can, or better. I order a full 7 bones. 7 bones is the full rib primal. It's running around 14, 15 pounds, depending on the size of the steer. I usually try to get certified Angus, USDA top choice. When you jump into prime, you pay a lot more.
Yeah.
And I think choice or top choice is really tender and juicy enough. And I order it bone on, but I remove the bones. Now, I know a lot of you like to cook on the bone, but it is a myth that the bone adds flavor to the meat. Remember, the bone is marrow coated by an 1/8-inch thick shield of calcium, and calcium has no flavor. It cannot alter the flavor of the meat. What it can do is it can alter the heating properties of the meat. It can block heat from entering, and that's why the meat closer to the bone is often less cooked than the meat on the other side. Personally, because I'm a control freak, and anybody who's watched this show knows that, I want the meat to be cooked the same all the way around. I don't want rare to raw next to the bone and perfect medium rare away from the bone.
Uh-huh.
So I'll remove the bone, and that's a whole nother meal. I mean, I love beef back ribs, and a 7-bone slab is enough for 2 of us. Or you can take that and throw it in a pot and make a great stock out of it. So I'll take the bone off, and I'll trim off almost all the surface fat. And there is a lot of surface. Oh, I forgot. When you order your beef rib primal, ask the butcher to either remove or break the chine. The chine is where the bones connect to the backbone. And if you don't remove that, it becomes a real pain to carve it, especially if you're going to cook it bone in. You won't be able to cut through that chine. So get that chine removed or broken, preferably removed. And you can also ask them to remove the bones and have them sell it to you. All right, so then I want to remove almost all the fat. There's a lot of surface fat on here. The problem is when you put your rub on a big glob of fat, what happens when you serve the meat? The people carve off the fat layer. There goes all your rub. So I'll peel off almost all the fat, maybe an 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, which most of it will melt down. And then I reverse sear. I want it 130 to 135 degrees, which is medium rare. So I'll start it indirect, either on a smoker or on a grill. You can do gas or charcoal, whatever you want, and let it warm to about 120 or so. And then roll it over to the hot side. Add more coals if you want. Get it really hot. Lift the lid. Don't leave the lid down. Otherwise, you'll continue to cook the interior. Lift the lid and just put it over that hot coals and just sear one side until you get a good dark brown crust. Roll it a 1/4 turn, sear, roll it a 1/4 turn, sear, roll it a 1/4 turn, sear, and you're done. So you're cooking in 2 steps. You're cooking the interior indirect and the exterior direct. And it works out great. It can take a long time, depending on how thick it is. If you start at indirect at around 225, it can take 3-4 hours to get up to 120 in the center. And that also depends. I mean, I've been out there when it's below 0, so that, the exterior temperature can be a factor. Give yourself plenty of time. And if you want, you can have a faux Cambro on hand which is, when it's done, you can pop it into a beer cooler to keep it warm. Nothing more festive, more impressive than a prime rib.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, from a smoking standpoint, if you wanted to add some smoke flavor to it, whatever your choice of wood, that's your business. But do you want to put the prime rib on cold in order to maximize the smoked impact?
This is a really interesting question. I always tell people go straight from the fridge to the smoker because you'll get more smoke flavor. I don't think prime rib or ribeye, which is the same piece of meat, benefits from a lot of smoke.
Mm-hmm.
I like it pretty much
meaty,
beefy with salt and pepper, So I don't put a lot of smoke on it. In that rare case, might be a good idea to bring it out of the fridge and let the surface warm just a bit, because as we've talked about before, cold surfaces attract smoke more than warm surfaces. It's a process called thermophoresis, and we don't have to get into the great details here. But if you want really smoky food, you go straight from the fridge to the grill. You'll attract more smoke to a cold surface. So you might want to pull it out and let it sit for an hour or so at room temp just to warm the surface and a little less smoke. It's up to you. As we've talked about before, and, it's nice to know that the more I read books about cooking and grilling and smoking, people are learning from what we've been teaching. The smoke won't penetrate. It's on the surface. It won't get more than 1/8 of an inch below the surface. So you're not going to get the center of that gorgeous beef roast smoky. And that's probably just as good. So you're just adding a layer to the exterior. And that's wonderful.
All right, Meathead joining us here on the show, AmazingRibs.com, his website. Let's change gears here for a second, Meathead. You had mentioned in the first segment when we were talking that you had a dislike for Twitter, and there was you were kind of floating around a little bit with some of the other Twitter members saying, hey, Meathead, you need to, get with the times and be more on social media. And you said, hey, man, I pay for my landscape, AmazingRibs.com. That's where all my information is. And I'm not going to sit here and spend all day and all night on somebody else's platform when I can direct traffic where it should be and where all the information is. So,
that's part of the story.
All right. Well, fill us in.
The real part of the story is I get people come onto Twitter and they say, you got any tips for cooking a brisket? And 280 characters? You want me to tell you how to cook a brisket? For crying out loud.
But don't you have all of your, there's got to be 10 of the top questions that you get asked the most. Don't you go to AmazingRibs.com and save the links to those and then just copy and paste and you say, hey, check this link out. And then that's all you tweet?
No, there isn't a top 10 questions. Brisket questions tend to be very popular, but it tends to be a lot about what's in the news. Right now there's a lot of talk about these vegetable-based hamburgers and stuff. And now the questions come from, most of them I can answer on Twitter and Facebook. I'm active on both Twitter and Facebook. I'm on Facebook right now with you.
Yep.
I post to LinkedIn, but I don't hang out there. And I've got an account on Instagram, and I don't use it. So, I answer questions all the time. We post a barbecue and grilling tip every day around 3:00, and then more at other times as the urge comes to me. And I answer questions when they pop up, but I only check Twitter like once a day. I'm watching my website all the time, and we've got paid moderators who know their stuff watching my website. So I'm constantly trying to remind people, if you've got, we get questions like, help, my turkey's burning, what do I do? Well, don't ask me on Twitter.
Yeah.
Come over to AmazingRibs.com and we'll be right there for you.
Let's get into some Facebook questions. You want to do that?
Sure.
Here we go.
I want to mention before we go there.
Go ahead.
That we also have a big section. We have a big section on AmazingRibs.com on prime rib with, in detail. And then also on tenderloin. And the Chateaubriand, which is the center section. And I just today finished a video on breaking down a beef tenderloin, getting it ready for cooking, and down to the Chateaubriand. And it's my first selfie video ever.
All right, posted today. I have a question coming in from a listener. What's the best soap for cleaning grungy barbecue hands?
Well, I don't know what the best is, but I keep a pumice soap around, the kind that mechanics use, because they're designed to remove grease, and they have particulate pumice in there which is I'm grasping for the word here. It's a coarse surface. Mm-hmm. So I keep a pumice soap around, because there are times when I just reach out and grab the grill grate, when it's not hot,
right,
to move it. And there's nothing worse than grill grate grease.
Let me ask you, or let me tell you what I found. I was once watching a home improvement show. I forget which one it was. And obviously I was never able to apply any of this. But dry hands, get dish soap into your dry, icky hands, put it in, and then just start, rubbing them together, get it all through, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, whatever it is, and then go ahead and rinse them out. I'll be damned if 95 to 98% of whatever is on your hands doesn't come right off just with standard dish soap on dry hands. It's unbelievable. No pumice, no coarseness, none of that. Just a little Dawn on the hands, rub it in, and you are good to go.
Well, dish soaps contain surfactants designed to remove grease. And in fact, Dawn, you mentioned, is the one that they use to clean up seabirds when they get trapped into oil spills. So they're really good at removing grease.
In your opinion, this from Eugene Apicella, in your opinion, what's the max shelf life for rubs, wet or dry, be they homemade or store-bought?
Hey, Gene. Good to hear from you. Gene is I know he's a fan of yours, and I see him on both my website and social media. Yep. Well, I think the bigger question is shelf life of rubs. The rule of thumb is 6 months to a year. Shelf life of spices and herbs. Each of them are different, but they contain volatile oils and aromatics, and that's what makes them enjoyable. And with time, those oils rincidify, they oxidize, they lose their potency, their intensity, their flavor. Rubs, which are blends of them, perhaps their profiles will change a little. Maybe the green herbs will alter faster than the brown spices, so that the flavor profile will shift a little. But in general, I've had rubs around for a year or more, and they're still workable. They're still I hate throwing them out. What I do with them sometimes is I'll use them as a smoke source. I've been playing lately with what the Chinese call tea smoking, where you will make a little packet, and you'll put tea in there, and they often put star anise and other things in there, and fold up the packet and poke a few holes in it, put it in the bottom of a wok, put a rack on top of the wok, and put the duck or whatever on top of that, close the lid, and you can smoke inside this little wok. And I've played with that technique with a pan, sprinkled old rubs and spices on the bottom, even sugar. It will burn faster, but you can play with them, and I've used them. We grow herbs in the garden, and at the end of the season, there's almost always a bunch of sticks and twigs from the basil and the oregano, and I break those up and throw them on the fire. So I don't think they're useless. I don't know. I perhaps make 6 months to a year's supply, and then. But we've talked about rubs before, and I'm a strong advocate of making your own rubs, for the one simple reason: when you buy rub, it's often 50% more of salt, and you're paying a premium price for salt, and the amount of salt you put on your meat should vary depending on the thickness. Because salt penetrates deep. All the other stuff doesn't. All the other stuff is a surface treatment. You've done pork butts. When you shred that butt, there's no rub flavor in the center of that butt. It's all on the surface, on the bark. So you need more salt on a pork butt than you do on a slab of ribs. So apply salt and rubs separately. It's like I can stop my car with the brake. I can also stop it by throwing it in reverse. Both methods stop the car.
Yeah. One
method's better than the other.
Mayonnaise on steak from Josh Poston. What do you think?
My last book, I talk about mayonnaise on fish, and now it's all over the place. People are putting it on everything. Mayonnaise is just
Are people putting mayonnaise on everything?
I just read a recipe for Thanksgiving turkey covered in mayonnaise.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Basically, mayonnaise is just an oil. It's an egg and oil mixture, and it's called an emulsion. There's, there's often a little acid blended in, vinegar or lemon juice, but it's oil and egg. So you think of it as an oil. And so if you want to paint your steak with an oil, you could use a mayonnaise. I've never done it. It seems pretty weird to me, but I have painted steak with oil. I like to do a thick steak reverse sear. But what I'll often do is when I get a brisket, I'll trim the brisket and I'll save some of that fat and I'll render it down and put it in a plastic tub in the freezer. And especially if I can get my hands on some aged beef, because the aged fat has a really nice flavor. And then after I'm done with the warming of the meat on the indirect side, I will move it to the direct side and paint it with this beef fat, which will essentially help fry the surface, improve the crust. And it adds this, so much of what we think is a classic steak flavor is not the muscle, it's the fat. And aged beef gets a lot of its character from the fat. So if you paint a young steak with aged beef fat, it'll adopt some of the aged beef flavor.
All right, Meathead is here the second Tuesday of every month. In the meantime, you can find him at AmazingRibs.com. Appreciate you breaking down all the different topics tonight and answering some Facebook questions. We'll get to the rest next month, or as we say, we'll see you next year, Meathead, and happy holidays to you.
That's right, next year.
That's right.
Hey, Centralites, always great talking with you. We'll see you next year.
All right, there he is, Meathead from AmazingRibs.com. And away he goes. So once again, if you are in need of help, assistance, questions, and or otherwise, just go to AmazingRibs.com. And as Meathead said, while you may see him hanging out here and there on Twitter or so forth, mostly at AmazingRibs.com. All right, well, we'll be back to wrap the first hour. Stick around, be right back.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
Hey, here's a great gift. Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring or connect via Bluetooth if you have Alexa or Google Assistant. Fireboard is fully integrated with both. You can buy it at fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. Highly suggest getting one of those if you don't have one. You're looking for a great gift. 6 ports. Easy to use, easy to set up, easy to get on the local area network, all that stuff. Keeping with the mayo talk just for a second, Arby's on their brisket sandwich uses a layer of mayo on the bottom bun and then puts the meat on top of it, so when you chew into it, you bite. The mayo actually takes on the flavor of the brisket, so they can not put on as much brisket, but your mouth is tricked into thinking that there's more brisket on that sandwich because you have the mayo coating your mouth. giving you a beefier mouth satisfaction. Is that right? I mean, that's why they do it. It sounded weird to say out loud. We're pointing to the second hour. Refresh drinks, and I'll meet you back in about 2 minutes. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central show right here on the Barbecue Central Network. Stick around. We'll be right back.